Last night's debate was a depressing affair. I think I've said that on my show. I watched the entire debate and I thought to myself, this country is facing a Great Depression event several times over. And the paucity of ideas that are put forth. I mean, what, 7 million people are infected with a disease, with COVID 19, and those people often have illnesses that extend beyond the illness itself. Well, those people are going to have healthcare challenges. They're going to have challenges to their income, not to mention the people who just lost their jobs, the people who have died. It's catastrophic. I mean, even the people who are being thrown out of their homes for that part. You have two segments of your society. You have one segment of the society that is doing perfectly well, that didn't skip a beat, that was able to buy their groceries, to get their food here, work from home. The world was fine. They were in their bubble. You had another group of people who were not in that bubble, who were not safe, who were not protected, and even before all of this hit, were already struggling to make ends meet. I'm making the point that we have left behind an aspect of our society. And the people who are running for office for the presidency of the United States, that seemed to be an afterthought. You had hawks, Joe Biden talking about he's going to punch leaders in the face. I'm going to punch Vladimir Putin in the face. That's what I'm going to do. I'm Joe Biden. That's what I'm going to do. And this seemingly was supposedly a good thing. You had both of them basically lying on various fronts. But Trump lies as easily as he breathes. And I'm pretty sure there are going to be 20 videos out there of showing one lie after the next that Trump did. I don't need to do that. I'm more interested in this very specific lie that Joe Biden is making here. Apparently, Joe Biden forgot the lie that he was telling people in the primaries. Because after all, again, the primaries were the places that he had to get out of. And as I said before, what is going to take place is that the things that he said, that he mentioned, that he talked about in the primaries were going to be forgotten. He's going to be 101 against Trump. Trump is going to be grotesque. Biden is going to be a little less grotesque. And Biden is going to say, see, I believe in science. Yes! And that's going to be enough. I believe that people should wear masks. Yeah. That's enough. I don't think 200,000 people should have died. Yes, that's enough. I'm making the point that the bar is so low, that he just trips over it. He doesn't have to do anything. That's my point. This is not expansionist or emancipatory politics. And I'm making the point, this should be a time for that level of politics. This should be the time where you get things done. You have this many people in a health crisis and Medicare for all gets the majority. You push for Medicare for all. Why? Because it burns in you to ensure that each and every person has health care. The public option attached to the Medicaid stuff. Look, I am making the point that from the standpoint of what the public needs and from the standpoint of what the public demands, those should have been policies that the public demanded. But the public was so terrified of Trump that the policy stuff became an afterthought to just save us from Trump. And that is so sad. That is so sad. But in order to get out of the primaries, Joe Biden had to take a certain position and attack. And that tact on some degree were certain lefty, or at the very least to the left policies. Ish. Yeah, ish. One of those have to do with green energy, green power, a Green New Deal-esque type idea that Joe Biden was pushing. I want you to hear Trump hit him on fracking. I want you to hear Joe Biden's response. Apparently, Joe Biden forgot the lie that he was saying in the primaries. And Trump pins him on this. And this is a lie. But my question is, why does he have to lie on this? I mean, if Joe Biden is the guy who believes in science, why does he have to lie on this very specific point? And I think that is one of the most fascinating questions that we should ask. Because I think it gives us lessons in regards to how politics should work, even from the standpoint of blacks and from the standpoint of the left. Welcome to the Soapbox. My name is Jamarl Thomas. This is the Progressive Soapbox. Guys, if you dig this content, please like, share, and subscribe. You can always support this content through PayPal or Patreon. So let's start here. this scene on stage where Donald Trump hits Joe Biden and says, hey, you are going to get rid of fracking. Now, one of the weirdest aspects of this race that have been taking place has been Donald Trump's complete propensity for pretending as if Joe Biden is Bernie Sanders, even going so far to make the ludicrous claim that Kamala Harris is to the left of Bernie Sanders. Now, I can tell you that Kamala Harris is basically Hillary Clinton as a black woman. And the people who back Hillary Clinton are the people who back Kamala Harris, meaning she is the status quo of the party incarnate for a next generation in order to keep that status quo ticking along, to keep that third wave mentality of the Democratic Party to keep trucking along to the right in regards to Republican policy with some identity stuff flourished on the side. Nobody believes that Joe Biden is Bernie Sanders. Nobody believes that. Continuing to make that attack falls on deaf ears, or maybe it gets your base riled up, but in reality of things, no one believes that. On the other side of this, though, you did catch him in a lie. But does it matter? I'm going to say it does matter, at least from a point of a lesson, but I don't think it's going to matter from the standpoint of whether or not Joe Biden loses anything from this. He gets hit on fracking. Let's hit a clip.
And to respond,
never said I oppose fracking.
You said it on tape.
I did. Show the tape. Put it on your website.
I'll put it on.
would there be any place for fossil fuels, including coal and fracking, in a Biden administration?
No, we would work it out. We would make sure it's eliminated.
What about, say, stopping fracking and stopping pipeline infrastructure?
Exactly. No new fracking. You got to transition away from it. Look, you're going to ban fracking all across America right now, right?
I would love to.
Yeah, I'd love to, too. I'd love to make sure we can't use any oil or gas, period. Look in my eyes. I guarantee we're going to end fossil fuels. We are going to get rid of fossil fuels.
Now, keep in mind, Kamala Harris was on a debate stage the other day and she was screaming she loves fracking or something to that effect. Basically, again, Trump is hitting them saying they're going to get rid of fracking. Joe Biden pushes back. We're not going to get rid of fracking. We're not going to get rid of fracking. I never said we're going to get rid of fracking. And it gives you this notion that they just love some fracking. And yet, this would be the party that says we're the party that believe in science. Now, the catch becomes, why is Joe Biden lying here? Now, first question, why did he lie in the primaries? Well, he lied in the primaries because he had to get out the primaries, and he needed to take positions that made him look like he was at the very least sympathetic to the left, if not outright hostile. When he gets out of the primary, and he's running in this race, he's saying, I believe in science, I believe in science. Obama said, I believe in science too, but he's also bragging about the number of oil wells he's opened up. Joe Biden is right in the sense that the transition needs to take place. I think he's wrong on the timeline, but at the very least, he's right in the sense that some level of a transition needs to take place to move from point A to point B. But why does he feel the need to coddle this industry like this? Or for that matter, why can't he just say, I believe in science, and yeah, we need to stop this industry as soon as possible? My contention is that he's concerned about certain states, be it Pennsylvania, Ohio, the Midwest, and in being concerned about those states, he's thinking to himself, if I take this position, they're not going to vote for me. And not just not vote for me, I may lose support in an area that will be fatal to me in regards to this race. Why is that important? Why is that important? Think about why that's important. Because ultimately what that means is there's a constituency out there that Biden and that Trump recognizes could take or leave either one of them. Both parties at that point become, you're optional for us. And because you're optional for us, if Biden takes a position that he thinks is going to be hostile to their interests, where they're going to go actively against him, well, Biden is, he's concerned by that. And he's not going to take that chance or not going to take that potential of having a demographic in that part of the country go against him. Well, that makes all the sense in the world from that standpoint. I mean, after all, you're trying to get elected and you don't want these people who jobs will be adversely affected by a policy that you're pushing or that Trump is really saying you're pushing. And so, yeah, you push back on that particular idea. But the point I'm trying to make here is from the standpoint of the left, when you're trying to get policy accomplished, be it Medicare for all, be it any of these other policies, or from the standpoint of African Americans that vote that much for Democrats, the difference between that demographic, that the Democratic Party is working hard, showing leg and screaming about fracking, hugging fracking. Imagine that. This disgusting practice that causes earthquakes, that ruins water and ruins air to some degree. And by the way, leaks methane. There's that. Meaning it's not a gateway anything. It's worse. Methane is worse than the carbon that comes out. But beyond that point, I'm just making the point that the hugging of fracking in this way, I never said I was going to do that. I never said I was going to do that. This love of this industry has everything to do with he's basically don't want to lose an area of support across the country that he thinks may be fatal to his campaign. And so he hugs fracking. He pushes back on this notion that I said I was going to get rid of fracking. I never said I was going to get rid of fracking. And to be fair, to say I'm going to make a transition, it's not the same as to say I'm going to eliminate fracking as if you're snapping your fingers to do it. I'm just making the point. Biden did say that in the primary. And now that we're in this particular part of the race, this notion of getting rid of fracking goes away to, wait, I never said that. He's trying to keep a constituency. It makes all the sense in the world that you would try to keep that constituency. And if that constituency can take or to leave you, then at that point, what do you do to get him? Which is the question, what do you do to get him? Are you willing to stand on stage and says, yes, I'm not going to get rid of fracking? Are you willing to have your VP to stand on stage and says, yes, we love fracking? Are you willing to have your people in the back end talking to oil people, smoothing with them, saying, look, don't pay attention to anything that we say on stage? Yeah, you have all that stuff taking place. I'm making the point that Biden is taking this cadence because he wants their support. It's that simple. And he understands that their support can come or it can go. It's not wed to either party in this case. And in many cases, it may be wed explicitly to business interests and whether or not those people are going to be able to keep their jobs or, for that matter, expand into other areas, expand their jobs. This is his concern and the concern from the standpoint of who those people are going to vote for. The left, African Americans, oftentimes the difference between you and them is that you don't have a take it or leave it. You, in some way, are stuck, or at the very least perceive yourself as being stuck with the Democratic Party, meaning in the way that Biden and Harris were shucking and jiving in order to get these guys votes. They don't do that for you. They accept you as a bought and captured bunch. I'm saying in order to get your demands, in order to get the things that you believe you need as necessary, or for that matter, to get some level of attention in this particular way, you have to be the same. And it's not fickle to the point of voting for a Republican or voting for a Democrat, but it is being willing to say these are the policies we want and you won't get our support otherwise. Just in the same way that they recognize that those oil people behave in similar terms. You realize when people are giving all of this money to politicians, Joe Biden is flush with cash. Tons of money at this point. And Trump has been drying up with cash. Trump says something about it in the debate. These are things that, it's not without favor or without entanglements that these guys have. They know who gave them the money in regards to getting into those races. They have people working around, schmoozing with all of these industries and whatnot. All of these people trying to get their hooks and to get their Joe Biden's ear at some point. They know that stuff. They're trying to control what happens in regards to the administration and how that administration unfolds and the way that they can get some kind of financial opportunity from the unfolding of the administration. Regular people tend to be locked out of that stuff. It's unfortunate. I guess my point is, for you to have any level of political clout, any level of not being in a position where you're marginalized or taken for granted, It has to be from a position of being able to take it or leave it. Otherwise, you're stuck with whatever you got. And for the last 40, 50 years, you've been stuck with whatever you got. And this was the first year where I honestly do believe that people saw themselves as saying, oh my God, this is more popular than we realize. But not having the wherewithal to affect that in a real space of leverage. Maybe not even knowing how to do that because everything was taking place so fast and in the weird environment of COVID-19. But that was an opportunity that I honestly believe we missed. But in this very specific instance, this is a situation where the Democratic Party, Joe Biden, wants their support, does not want to lose their support, believe losing that support, I suspect, probably in the Midwest, in those areas, Pennsylvania and whatnot, and losing that support, believes he may lose this race. And so he caters and gives this kind of rhetorical, hey, no, that's not what I'm going to do. That's not what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. Donald Trump is lying about me. And Kamala Harris is saying what she's saying. Yeah, he wants their support. If you want to be catered to in that way, if you want any level of leverage, because that catering to is almost by definition leverage, that has everything to do with the capability of numbers affecting whether or not they're going to win in certain areas. And I'm saying you need to be militant of policy in similar terms in order to get that level of influence. And if I'm being bluntly honest, if you are African American and you're voting to the tune of 90%, you should have influence. If you're lefties and you're the base of the party, you should have influence. And by influence, I don't mean this just kind of a black, white, gay, straight, etc. No, I mean from the standpoint of policy that's representative of the people who are pushing that party forward and keeping that party in effect, as opposed to what is basically exploitation of an upper class or elite crest of that party that basically is a brain trust and is trying to perpetuate itself in the face of a distribution of the public that is no longer in alignment with what he wants. I'll leave it here. I don't want to keep this one long. I try to make this point over and over again that your system is inverted. That, it makes all the rational sense in the world that if I have 1,000 people who are asking me for things, that 1,001 is onerous, is too much. As a politician, you have a country that is begging for things constantly. And what I mean by this is plutocrats, people who want you to do this or that, or go a particular way or go another way, sell out some programs, screw over some people, and you need to be the public relations person for that. If you are getting into that mix and you have zero power, zero clout, you will get ignored. You get ignored because all of these other people are pulling on them and all of these other people are throwing all sorts of cash in their way, and you're coming at them with nothing. Unless it's something within the context of their ideology, you will most likely get marginalized and ignored. I'm making the point, whether you're from the left or whether you are African Americans, and I would make the case, I would say these groups, in many cases, their interests are in alignment. That's a heads up. There needs to be some level of organization, some level of unification where there's a brain trust, where there's an understanding of a pushback that doesn't necessarily fall in line immediately with Democratic Party wants and demands at the end of a particular primary process or some democratic process. That the democracy of it all doesn't necessarily end at the moment that the contest ends. They're different things. I'll end this here. Like, share, and subscribe. Thanks all.